Hello and welcome to this video. Today we're going to be looking at an ambiguous sort of like a take-home interview question. So pretty much the entire remit is create a full stack app, a contacts application using Express, React, and a database. Can't get much more ambiguous than that, other than not telling you what sort of technologies you want to use. So we have a few prerequisites that they're saying we need Express, we need React, and we need a database of some sort. So let's architect this out in like a basic sort of form. So let's start with our basic idea. Initially, I'm thinking we're going to have our front end, which is going to be a React application. Okay, based on what they're saying. And then we're going to have a backend API using Express.js. And then we're going to have some sort of database. We can do a NoSQL or a SQL-based database. It doesn't specify. So that's basically the architecture. Let's do this as a bit of color to it. It's going to be slided, similar sort of concept. There we go. So for now, let's move that up here. So the most basic concept of it is something like that. So architecture. Let's architect it out a little bit more. Let's say no SQL. There's just something to use that, or DB or something. Database. There we go. We'll shove a database down. Okay, so we've got a database. We want connecting to an API. So let's have a look. The APIs, that'll do. There's our API one. So we've got an API that connects to the database. Pretty simple. Database connection. Make that double-sided like so. That over there. We've got our API, we've got a database connection. Text. Database. That's some text. Express API. Let's have a look at our front end. We'll just put yeah, we'll represent the front end using this. Okay, we've got a little bit of representation of our things. Yeah. So we'll do a similar sort of concept. Let's move that there. So it's our kind of the actual API thing there. So let's think. So we've got this request question response. Move that over a little bit more. There we go. So we've kind of got a general idea of what we want to make. Super basic. Let's start breaking this down. So database wise, what do we want to do? We want to make some tables, don't we? Whether they're tables or whether they're documents, it doesn't really matter. It's going to be a NoSQL or SQL, but in its most basic form. Full stack contacts app, we could just have like a CRUD contacts table to start with. Yeah. So let's have a look. Can we build out? I don't want wireframe or a mind map. Got like a table. There we go. Maybe. No, you know what? I'm just gonna notation. You know what? Let's just do it this way. Let's do it. This rectangle thing with the data in there and join up. Let's think about this. We want some data, so we'll have a contact table. Build out the schema. So make a contact schema bubble. What do we want? It's going to have an ID, possibly string. Let's see. So our contact might have a name, another string. Let's think. Email or telephone. Email. What else? Maybe an address. Maybe a type of contact. Could be like either a business contact or an individual contact. Example. So let's think about it like that sort of way of doing things, yeah? So that's kind of our schema so far. Right? Maybe we want to have users in this thing as well. Like, imagine you wanted to scale this up and have more than one set of contacts. Imagine Dave wanted a set of contacts and Steve wanted a set of contacts, for instance. Maybe we'd have something like that. So that's another thought process and stuff. So let's go and make another one of these things. Maybe a user table, just for the hell of it. So let's do a user. Maybe overkill, don't know. This is just the thought process and the design. Again, some sort of ID, username, email, and a password. But now, to join these up, what are we going to do? I suppose we could have like in here, we could have a foreign key down a little bit. So imagine we have a foreign key of user. Foreign key, yeah. So we have like a foreign key with the user ID in it, which then makes these two kind of intermingled or linked together in some way, like so. Let's do this again. That. So that's my thought process was perhaps. Like I say, there's a lot of room for interpretation and other stuff. But let's do that. Let's bring this background here a little bit. So we've kind of built out a small few ideas here. Let's grab these, bring them down a bit. There. Put text here. I don't know. Design, whatever. Do that. Stand a little bit more. Design like that a little bit. You get that centered-ish. Yep. That'll do. Maybe same with this. Let's sort of get this kind of center up a little bit. That'll do. Okay, so we've kind of got the concept here of what we could be creating, or at least the database schema there. So what else do we need? What else could we need? We've got our database, we've got this, we've got the API, we've got so that was the database. Let's think about now the actual API. What can we do here? What's our next steps for the API? Have a little think through this. So for the API, we probably want controllers. Yeah. We want some controllers. We're going to want a way of routing things to stuff. Maybe some routes. We've got the models there. So what I might do is I'll do this, make this be behind there, and maybe make that into its own sort of thing. Bringing this up a little bit. Come on, where are you? Yeah. Right, and let's put some text up here. No, text somewhere. Boom, boom. Put some text over here instead. No, keep clicking around. I love it. Let's just copy this. Pop it over here. There we go. Let's see. Maybe make it white and bold. Change that to be schemas or models. Okay. So routes, controllers, schemas, or models. So what routes might we want? Let's think. We're going to want basically some user routes. We're going to want also, let's copy that. We're going to want some contact routes as well. Yeah. So two sets of routes. Controllers, same thing. We're going to want some sort of a user controller. And then we're going to want a contact controller. Okay, so now we've kind of got the startings of the idea of our Express API. What else have we got to consider? Some considerations and things that we might want to install or something. Let's look. Other considerations, let's think. So we're going to be thinking about our stack. So what do we want in our stack? We want a database. I'm going to go with, for now, MongoDB. We can later maybe look at the idea of something like PostgreSQL or something else. It's really dependent on time and scalability and so on and so forth. MongoDB is a perfectly simple sort of thing to implement in a API like this. But then again, so is Postgres, so it's one of those. But if we're using MongoDB, so let's just choose one. Let's say we're going to use MongoDB. But in this case, I could use Mongoose as the ORM. We're going to want to use cores for development. What else could we need or want? Well, obviously we're using Express. And if I'm going to have routes, I'll be using something like Express router, something like that. What else are we going to be using? I think. While we're developing stuff, just for dev, probably something like NodeMod. The dev dep. What else are we going to use? So we've got MongoDB to cover the database. We're using Express.js with Express Router for routing, and we'll be using controllers. Mongoose will deal with the schema and so on and so forth. So that's kind of that. And then for the front end, maybe a Vite or Vite React app, the React ecosystem side of things. We could also, if we wanted to go a bit further, we could make that into a serverless Next.js application as well. But for now, I'm just going to go with the classic sort of more old school type things. So this is my thought process here, where we're building out the ideas of what we're going to kind of do. Yeah. So then I want to build out the idea of what about these routes then? What we're going to have as routes? Have a think. A couple of routes come to mind, maybe just register. Let's do like that. And what's another one? Login. Yeah, a couple of routes. Contact routes. Maybe we want a few more routes for that. We're going to do CRUD. We want more routes, don't we? So let's move these over a little bit. Let's make a bit of room here. And the contact routes down a bit. So what are we going to think about? What sort of routes are we going to have on our contact? Let's think through the process of this. I'm gonna just have like a get and post. So get all route. So get all contacts, let's say. So let's say we have a route of that as a get route. We also want the same sort of thing as a post. Shouldn't really put get and route post there. Let's give them some get all contacts. Makes a bit bigger. Get all contacts, and then the next thing is going to be create contact. Then we're going to want something like get contact by ID. So something like that. Get contact by ID. What else are we going to do? We're going to want to edit the contact or update the contact. So same sort of thing. A minute. That can be an ID. And then we'll update contact. Maybe we want to delete a contact as well. Yeah, something like that. So now we've kind of got these routes with functionality here that we can have it do stuff. Yeah. So kind of building out the idea of some methods here that we can use. This one will be, so register would just be like register user or something, or make new user or whatever, you know, some sort of user route. And then, in fact, you know what, it's to do with users anyway, so just a register, and then literally a login. Now we've got some user routes, we've got some contact routes as well. So this is my thought process as I'm building this out here. This is kind of like so far what we've got. Right, what else could we add here? I mean, we're going to need to think about the controllers as well. So let's think about the user controller. That's going to take, it's going to want to take some stuff. So let's make this a bit bigger again. Start putting these. So my user control, whoops, didn't want to do that. Click away. So my user controller. So this thing, we're going to kind of have this do some stuff. It only really needs two sort of endpoints by the look on it. One register and login sort of control sort of structure. So let's think about these things. So for let's say for register, we'll have it take in a request and a response. Yeah. And what we're going to do, let's think, how are we going to approach that? So we're going to take in a request and response. It's going to give us a few different possibles. So what sort of things is it going to output for us? We want kind of a happy route and an unhappy route. Yeah. So let's not do, let's just say it's a register is going to have a request response, and also login is going to have a request and response. That's the concept of them. Now the request's shape of a request for the register is going to be what? A username, an email, and we want a password. Yeah. So that's kind of the shape of what we want, right? What sort of requests are login going to have? That's only going to really need the, well, I don't know. Do we want to have it as a username, or do we want to have it as an email, or, you know what? We're going to take email and password for the login. Why not? So for this, email and password. It also means we need some way of encrypting or encoding our password. So I'm going to say in my actual stack, I'm going to use maybe password hashing wise, we'll probably use bcrypt. For now, we'll handle our own passwords. So I'll do some sort of like JWT or something. Probably something like JSON web token. Like that for us. That's what I'm thinking about that. So now we kind of have a controller there, some basic idea of what we want it to take in. We'll deal with the happy and unhappy stuff and whatever afterwards. That's something else. But for now, here's the next steps of stuff. We've got our contact control. This one's going to be a little bit more, I think, because you can have more endpoints, more functionality and stuff, isn't it? So let's think about that. So for the get all contacts, we're just going to want, let's say, well, we're going to want a user of some sort, aren't we? Yeah, you know what I mean? We're going to want the user ID for the get all contacts. So get all contacts, again, res with a possible shape of a user. Yeah, that might be the ID or whatever. Then we want something like create contact, don't we? And again, request response, and shape wise, we're going to want kind of the user. We're going to want the name. We're going to want the email. What else? We're going to want the telephone number, the address, and the category, or is it type? Did I call it type? What did I call it? I forgot what I called it now. Blah, 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 blah. Type. Type. Category might be better, actually, but yeah, I'm not hard on, you know, not really, but it's like a hard needed thing. So that's going to be creating a contact. Now, to update a contact, or actually, we want to get by ID as well, don't we? So did we want, yeah, just want to get all contacts. We want to get contact by ID. So let's do that. So get contact by ID. Again, make res, same pattern. Shape for this, what do we want? We kind of want a couple of things, don't we? We want a parameter of ID. Yeah. We want also the user needs to be coming from there as well. So we need the RAM of ID, and we also want the rec user. We kind of get those two things sent in, not as a body, but in general. That's what's kind of going to need to go into that. What else? So that's the get contact by ID. Now the update's going to be pretty much similar, but with a little bit of extra stuff. We need the request body still, and we're probably going to still want the request params ID and the user ID as well. So we want both of those and the thing. So I'll do that as well. So let's make a bit of space in between these. Let's go and do this. So we've got a bit of separation. We'll do the same with that, just to give it nice clean separation. Right, so next, what was it? We wanted to update contact. Again, it's going to take a res, standard pattern. We're going to want those parameters, and we're going to want those. So we're going to want this as the body. Let's copy that. So we're going to want to take that in. But we're also going to want these parameters if we're updating it. So this one's a little bit more complex on its sort of inputs and so on and so forth. Again, we haven't done any happy unhappy or anything like that for now. We're just getting something up and running. Then for the delete, we're pretty much going to be doing a bit like the get by ID, same sort of concept. So delete contact, request response, and we're going to literally use the param ID and the request user ID or whatever. So that's my thought process on designing this. A little bit. Come on, go out. It doesn't want to. It's just being awkward. It really doesn't. It doesn't want to change its size, does it? It's been super awkward. It literally does not want to give any space there. So let's make a bit. Maybe do that. Okay. So we got the controllers. Let's move this down here a bit. There we go. So we've now got some interesting sort of set of things here. Could move the whoops. It seems to keep moving the whole thing about, and it's not supposed to be doing that. Let's move that back up here. Let's click away. Let's grab the routes and shove them down here for now, just for space. Okay, so that's the routes. This is the controllers. So let's move that down. Let's grab this one. Let's pop that over here somewhere. I don't know. There we go. And this controller can go here for now. This controller can go up here. There we go. So we've kind of got an idea of what we want. It's just a simple, basic sort of thought process and little whimsical board here where I'm just sort of getting my thoughts together as to what I perhaps would approach this with if I were to be doing this like as a little interview problem set or whatever. Let's clean that up a little bit. There we go. So we've kind of got the idea of what we want. So I'm going to basically get the kettle on, and I'll pause the video while I get the kettle on and make myself a cuppa, step away from it a little bit, and then we'll move on to kind of planning it out a little more documented as opposed to just diagram. Okay, see you in a second. Okay, so I've made myself a quick cuppa, back at the computer again. So let's see. So we now have the concepts down. We've got some minor sort of design ideas here and stuff. Let's go make a repository, a new repository. let's say let's say express contacts, express contacts backend. Yeah, so we can make a backend and front end and whatever, but for now let's make well, do we want to make a separate repos for this, or yeah, we'll make a backend and a front end repo for this, so that when we're actually sort of deploying things, we can do that. Because I personally think deployment's a good idea, right? So yeah, let's do it this way. Backend in Express JS for a contact. I don't know. Let's plonk a README in there. We'll give it a node. Yeah, ignore. We'll get an MIT license for now. Okay. Let's create the repository. Close that large. Close everything. A few different things been working on. Let's clean up. So let's start in the web sort of thing. Let's open a new command prompt. Zoom in a bit. Let's pull this down. I'll do a git clone of the repository. Just pull it in. Express contacts. There we go. Open up VS Code on there. So again, no particular code just yet. Well, we're still in the planning phase. We're still kind of thinking through things. We've kind of got a general plan, but I want to kind of get this into more slightly solid sort of, just a general feel for it. We don't have to go perfect for this. We're just going to get something up and running and see where we go from there. So to contact that back end, we'll say we're going to be using, let's say, MongoDB. And I'll try and make some links to things as I go, as the database using the, let's say, Mongoose ORM. We've got to get the links for the docs for those. And let's say Express.js. API platform. Okay, so there's basic sort of description of what we're going to be making. So MongoDB, I've got these somewhere, so I'm just going to do MongoDB. Used that quite a few times. I've got a link to it there. So MongoDB.com. So let's go straight there, copy the thing, close that again, and pop that in the README. So we've got a link to that. We also want Mongoose, so I'm going to have a look for Mongoose. Mongoose ORM. There we go. Nice little thing with the docs. Let's copy that. Just so we've got references to what we're kind of working on. Definitely advice to kind of keep some refs. Express.js, another thing we want to get hold of. Express.js, there we go, expressjs.com, copy that. So we get some sort of documentation as we're going, just to make our lives easier. So that's the process so far, what we've got as a thing, yeah? So getting started, we want some information for people who are going to just come to this, so first off, clone this repository. So it's going to be a git clone, whatever the name of the repository is, which, funnily enough, is here. Code, copy that, pop that in there. Okay. Next, we're going to enter the directory. CD into express contacts backend. And what we're going to want to do, we want to install the dependencies next, don't we? That would be an npm I for now. Let's say that we're using npm. And then run the development server. So run dev server. And we'll just do it. We'll make that be npm run dev one. Okay, so that'll do it. Now our plan, general plan. We may as well make that be the whimsical thing, so at least to start off with. Make that be the plan, and literally we go over to the whimsical thing. We do that. Let's give it a title. Let's bring that up. What do I call it? Let's say contact application plan. We will share this. We'll say anyone with a link can view it. Copy the link. Then we can pop that link in here. So we've got access to our on a whimsical plan as well. Let's have a think. What else we're doing? We'll do the what's next? We can do the models. Oh, hang on. Did we actually write up our stack? Let's say stack express.js. We want MongoDB using Mongoose as the ORM. This is just the backend, so we only want the stack for the backend. So this will do for the backend stack. Maybe we want sort of like a few ancillaries, like node mon as a dev dep. Probably want cores or some sort of a dev dep as well. Don't know whether I'll actually have that as a dev dep or just install it. Whatever. And we're going to be utilizing bcrypt for hashing password. We're going to be using probably JSON Web Token. Auth. Yeah. All right. That'll do for now. Again, we don't need to get super in depth. We just need it so that we've got an idea of what we're doing. Next, I'm thinking probably the database models. So let's say our first model being the user schema. What did we want in our user schema? We want username. We want it to be string. We want it to be required. And we want it to be unique. Yeah, they're the things that we want our username to be. We probably want the same from the email. So we don't have like duplicate usernames and emails. So we'll do the same there. And then the password, we probably don't want to allow, we don't want to restrict duplicates for the password purely because otherwise it's going to start moaning at people if they've got the same password as someone else, which actually could be a security risk. You know what I mean? if you start knowing that another user happens to have the same password as you, you can start using that password and just randomly start hashing out a bunch of usernames or fuzzing or something, you know what I mean? So it's kind of, so password, we're gonna still want to be a string. We don't want it to be unique. We do want it to be required. There we go. So now we've got our user schema. Okay. Then we're going to work on our contact schema. What do we want in our contact schema? We want a reference to the user. So user. That's going to be a object ID, basically. We want it to be a ref to the user table, say. Yeah, so that's kind of what we want it to be. This one's going to be a name next, and that's going to be a string and required. And I think the rest are just going to be strings, pretty much. We might want an enum of some sort as well, but let's say that our email is going to be string. Our telephone is also going to be string for now. Address is going to be string, enough. And item, not item, what did I call it? So look, what did I even call that thing? Type. I like it bit more of categorization than a type. So let's call it category instead. It's just, have I got that anywhere else? Blah, 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 blah. I'm just, see, type feels like a bit of an ambiguous sort of term, where if I categorize something, category that will do. I think that's all we need. Yeah. Just again, we're going to be sort of, that's kind of a living document. So we kind of might make a few changes here and there. So now instead of typing a category, that's going to be a string, but I want it maybe to be an enum string where we kind of have to have certain things. Like we want an individual, and probably as well as individual, we might want business, but we can always add to that later or do whatever. Like an individual contact or a business contact. Yeah. Right. So I think that's good for the contact schema. Again, give this a bunch of bullet points here. Clarity. Design. It's great. Okay, so now we've got our documentation for the user schema and the contact schema. Let's have a look at how that looks in general sort of preview. So we've basically got the Express Contacts backend, a little description with a couple of links. We've got the getting started part. We've got the general plan. We've got the stack, got some database models or schemas, as we call them. We're probably going to want to document the routes as well next. Yeah. So that's what we'll do next. Let's look. So we've done database models. Let's look for routes. So what sort of routes do we want? We want the user routes. I'm going to write that the same way I would. User routes. Okay, what are we going to want? For the user routes, we're just going to want a /register. And that's going to be a, well, we don't really care about it being a post thing. It's gonna be linked to our user controllers. You know, it's not plugged in. Let's just say it's routes, keep it simple. And login, /login. There we go. So that's that. Eventually, what we'll do is we'll kind of put down what, let's say it's part of it. User controller something. In fact, register. It's going to link into there. I'll probably put like the backticks to make it slightly more prominent. And then same sort of thing with this user controller dot login. There we go. So that's its routing. It's going to route to those things. Yeah. Then we want the contact routes. There's a few more routes for the contact. So we're going to have a few of these. That's a point, actually. The user routes, do we want them to be post? Yeah, we want those to be post. So I'm going to actually put here that they're post. Let's put down what type they are. Yeah. Let's think. So for the contacts, we're going to want a get to slash, and that's going to be on our contact controller get all contacts. Yeah. Then the next one, let's think I'm going to want to post. So it's going to be a post to this forward slash. We want that again, contact controller, and that's going to be create contact. Then we're going to want a get to, yes, let's do another get slash colon ID, and that's going to be running onto our contact controller dot get contact by ID, wasn't it? I mean, we got a put and a delete, I think. So let's do a put to there, ID, and that's going to be contact controller dot update contact. Oh, what else? We just got to delete, really, haven't we? So that's going to be again contact controller delete contact. Okay, so I think that's pretty much the routes to do stuff. Next, that's what we're going to want. Let's see. So this is pretty much a nice little starting point. A little sip of tea. Right then. Okay, so I did say that we wanted to kind of think about our happy and unhappy situations with our things that we're doing here. So I need to think about that on the controller, don't I? So let's maybe go back to our whimsical and let's add some more space down here. And let's think of some user flow. So the front end is going to hit the user controller to try and register. Yeah. So I'll say like user registration flow. Okay. So our user registration flow. So what we're doing, we're going to take our front end. Okay. So front end, say FE because it's point. That's going to connect in and hit the controller. So slash, not slash, speed mark slash register. Okay. So it's going to hit that and it's going to be passing some data. So I'm going to make that a bit, oops, seriously. I'm going to make that a bit longer there and go here and put text. Let's say that we're passing a user name and a password. And what else do we want? We needed email. Okay. email. User email and password. There we go. So let's keep doing that. There we go. So this one would be like, let's say, a happy case. Yeah. Let's call this all info correctly sent. Yeah. It's a nice happy case there. We're correctly sending all the information that we need, right? So the process is it's going and doing that. It's then hitting that endpoint. It's trying to register. So we need the register endpoint is going to call register res, which then tries to, let's go and do that. Then tries to create user. Yeah. Given the data. Yeah. So user name, email, password. Okay. So we now got our username, email, password given into the create incomplete user, which then is going to add user to DB. Okay. And given that being the happy case response, let's say we have a status of 201 and maybe a JSON of, what do we want to do? Just a simple message saying that user. So then that, and we want like message of, let's say, user created successfully, let's say. Yeah, so kind of have some sort of response there. That then gets sent. Come on, there we go. Back to the front end, right? That's pretty much what we want to do. Yeah. All's working correctly, we send our response back. Okay, so that's the happy, the great, everything's working sort of situation. We have a few unhappy cases where one of these are not there, for instance, or it's an incorrect sort of thing, or it's missing something. So basically, maybe what happens if this user already exists? So that's a happy case. All info sent correctly, correctly sent, and user does not already exist. Next, we want something similar, but where the user exists already. So it's going to be the same sort of thing. But this time, I'll grab this, bring it down sort of here. And now it's not a happy case. It's going to be an unhappy case. Unhappy case. All info sent correctly, but user does exist, does already exist. Yeah. So now we'd want a response, a different response, maybe a 400 response. User already exists. Right? Kind of got a bad response there. Yeah. So we're still kind of doing that. Create user, bang, problem. Can't add the user to the database at this point. Can't add user to DB. There we go. So now we've got these two possibilities. We've got this one where we've got a happy case and we've got unhappy case there. We could have another unhappy case where just another problem happens. Maybe an internal server error happens of some sort. Which is another thing. That could happen in a few different possibilities, but let's just do that. Why not? There's an example of one sort of point where this could happen would be like where we don't like provide enough information or something. But there's quite a few. I'm not going to cover absolutely every application. We can kind of surmise a few of these out. So imagine we don't send an email. On happy case, not correctly sent. We're not bothered about the user existing. Not correctly sent. So we register. It tries to register, create user, passing in at this point just the username and password. Can't add the user to the database. Now we're going to get a 500 error. We've got a, maybe we'll just say internal server error or something here. Yeah, that's a few possible cases for us, right? So that's our user registration flow. Let's make that a bit bigger as well. Ooh, not that big. There we go. Okay, so we've now got kind of a user registration flow as well. So actually, I'm going to take this and bring it up out the way. I'm not going to have that part of that, and we'll just make another box to hold the user registration flow. Get that a different color. No, I don't like that. Maybe a grey or something. I don't know. Something. There we go. So we've got our user registration flow there. Not the best of things. Why haven't I got a connection here? That's a bit weird. And this one as well. I don't quite get why that's not doing its thing. That's a bit strange. Not too sure why that didn't do its thing. User name. That's all connected, but this one's not connected now for some reason. It's a bit weird. Whoa, that's even weirder. Oh wait. This goes to this. There we go. And this goes to this. I don't do, oh my life, what on earth is going on here? This is just being really special right now. I don't know why this is just being awkward like this. It's just, there we go. Oh my life, that's better. But now this part needs to go here and be text to do with that. And that one is going to be email. I'm not too sure why that went on some weirdness like that. Okay, so now we've got that cleaned up again. That's the basic process of what it's doing. Awesome. So that's the user registration flow. We could have a login flow, the same sort of thing's going to be for the login basically, but without the username part, I suppose. We could just copy paste the entire lot of this for the flow and build that out. Again, this is more of a, it depends on how much time you've got to actually do these things. I've done that, and then we'll just pull this down to be slightly different flow. Zoom out a bit. Can we zoom out? Yeah, there we go. Bring that up a little bit and user login flow. We don't need the username for this, but we're using the email and password, wasn't it? All exist, blah, blah, blah. Not add new user. So we don't want to create user at this point. We want to, what do we want to do? Check user or something. Username, no. Email and password. Yeah, user by ID at this point. Yeah. And then response status 200 if it finds it and does stuff. And we'll probably want a message with some sort of a JWT or something eventually. Yeah. Let's think. Yeah. Some sort of JWT token as a response. User already exists wouldn't be a thing because if user does not exist, how about that? Unhappy case where user does not exist. Well, we've got a few of these actually. You can have like incorrect username or password. Do that because the user doesn't exist or whatever. Incorrect user / password. Okay. Check user. Password. User response. We want if we can't get the user, invalid email, password's going to be a 400. Say literally invalid email. Let's see, and then an internal server error if anything else goes wrong or whatever. Yeah, info not sent correctly. There we go. We're still going to get. This is not going to be create user. It's going to be check user. Something. We don't send the username. What the heck happened there? I don't know. Let's go. This looks a bit weird. Let's click away. Grab this and move it out of the way. Just the password there. That's what I wanted. Yeah. I don't know why that went and done that. That was a bit strange. Okay, so just the password sent. Check user password, blah, blah. Just sent the password. Can't. User not supplied. Internal server. There we go. So we got the user flow is very similar to the login flow. So I think happy and unhappiness and all that stuff. I'll leave there's a lot more flow to do if we wanted to do that, but this is just a general idea of what sort of thing you might want to do. And again, these we could actually export as images and put them as static images inside the thing as well with the user flow stuff or whatever. But I don't want to go too deep into the design because otherwise we'll never get any code done at all. In fact, this may end up being more than one video. It's been quite a long one already. So I think I might cut it here and we'll just push the changes up. So say updated readme with initial plan. Yes. And then we'll sync those changes off. Once we've finished syncing the changes, I'm going to go over and make sure it's in the repo. Let's do a refresh. Yeah, so we've got a basic plan started. That's a good sign. I think I'll call it for this video. It's been quite a long one. And I think we'll leave that there. And in the next one, we're going to continue on from here. And we're going to be basically probably just jumping into a bit of code so you can kind of, have some sort of code there. I'm going to call an audible before we do that. I did say we're going to stop. But I do really want to get some code up and running. So what we'll do is we'll do a really super basic hello world, or get some structure out. You know what? We're going to get some structure out there. We're going to literally build out some structure for this. So we've kind of got that plan now. We'll do a structural plan. I need some sort of configuration. So I'll make a new folder called config. I'll probably put a new file in there called config.js. That's going to be configuring like the database and all the bits and pieces. I'm going to want to have some sort of, I'll make a source folder to store the other stuff. And inside there, I'm going to make a couple of other folders. I'm going to want controllers. I'm going to want models. I'm going to also want routes. Now, what did we say we want? We want two controllers. We want a user controller. And we're going to want a contact controller as well. Okay. We're going to have some models. We're going to have a user model. And we're going to have a contact model. Or scheme or whatever you want to call it. Routes wise, we're going to have a user routes and a contact routes. So user routes and a contact routes. We also want a main entry point to this. So directly in source, do we want in source? Do we want it directly outside of everything? Yeah, you know what? We're going to technically have this as a new file called index.js, and that's going to be the entry point. Yeah. Okay. Now, based on this, I kind of want this now, as we've got it. I think that's probably enough of that, but we want this to be an actual project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a npm init-y to initialize the project with this own little thing here. So where are we? Let's have a look at our package.json. We've got our thing with the information in, an index.js. Got a test. And remember what I said about the whole run dev. So we want the dev. So for dev, I'm going to want something like node-mon index.js, which means we need to install node-mon and our other little bits and pieces. So we're going to do that as well, just because. Why not? So let's have a look. What did I say that we want to install? We want to install Express. We want Mongoose. We want bcrypt. What was the other thing that we wanted? JSON Web Token. This was there kind of what I kind of decided on. And I think we might as well use .env as well, just because. And that'll do for those. And I've just noted before I do that, missed that an S in Express. So this will install our bits and pieces just to get us started. So we're ready for when we do jump into doing the code. I don't really want to do too much in the way of code just yet. But I do want us to have some sort of structure ready to start in the next video sort of thing. So we don't have to kind of do all these bits. Right, so now we've got those. One dev dependency. So npm install -d node-mon. Dev dependency of node-mon. If we're going to run it as a server itself, we also probably want like a server thing where we just do node index.js as well. Just like that. And if I failed to save content to the file is newer, please compare your version of the file contents or override the. What? Override. The heck was that about? It was a bit weird. Right, so now we've got all of our new stuff done. So created boiler. Well, created structure of created the structure of it. Yeah? Okay. Let's try and run it. Let's see what happens when we try and run it. npm run. Yeah. Node-mon runs, it does time to code. Now, this is here so that if we do make changes, which we're going to do just to test it, into our index.js, time to code, let's put an exclamation point. Let's bring that over a bit so we can see it change. So as soon as I save, it restarts and runs the code again. That's awesome. That's exactly the stuff that we wanted. Okay, let's put that back though. So that's not particularly changed. There we go. So let's sync those changes. We've got a working basic sort of setup ready to go. So I think when I said that concluded the video, I was a bit premature with that, but now this concludes the video. We now have got a bit more of a setup in there with some files and some stuff there ready to start. 100% JavaScript apparently. But yeah, so hopefully this has been enjoyable as a sort of design process for an Express Contacts backend at this point, to try to go over the concept of maybe if you've got a question like, can you create an Express application, a full stack one? This would be kind of the backend structure as far as I'd say a simple sort of Express.js one would be concerned. And then you could kind of make another one for the React front end, but we'll try and get the back end done first, and then we'll kind of work through doing the rest of it in the front end. So there's maybe several videos at this point, because I think this one's been quite long, and all we've done so far is kind of the planning and got something fleshed out where we've got a structure to start with. Hopefully it's been enjoyable. Have a great day, evening, night, whatever time it is for you, and I'll see you in the next video.